I have to pull my phone out. Sometimes I need to use a little extra light to see things these days. All right, call the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is the minutes from the previous meeting. Meeting was December 6th. I hope everybody received them and read them. First of all, can I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
In a second, please. Thank you. And any discussions, deletions, corrections, anybody wants to add or subtract from the minutes? I hearing none. We will approve the minutes as written. Welcome to our new clerk, Jessica. How are you? Jessica Montgomery, is it?
Yes.
And she will be our new clerk. Coco's going to help her through at least this meeting and probably the next couple if need be, but as I told her, we're pretty easy. Also, Ben Diane and Al Dixon, our new liaisons. Welcome. All right. Feel free to speak up at any time. And next on an acknowledgement of a donation from a Mr. Gregory James of 2,500. Mr. Gregory James has donated multiple years. And this is a very generous donation. I'd like that recognized in the minutes. And thank him for his donation.
Jim, did you make that this year, 2024?
2020, that was 2024, I think, but I'm not 100%
And it can
sure.
be used for anything with the committee?
Yes, on this one, he did not designate, usually he designates for deer reduction. And I talked to Bo a little bit about it, and I think since we only have deer reduction and education, it's not designated, we can use it for either. And I specifically spoke to Bo, Julia, that we want to use it for maybe helping some young hunters get started or something like that. We can do that.
Equipment,
Whatever, try to keep it in arm's length from you and the committee, okay? So if we get some stand, make sure it's a place that anybody that's in the town, because it's town money, okay?
Right.
But that's not to say you can't use it and your daughters can't use it and everything else, but try to make sure that we can, that it is still open to the whole public. All right, that's informational. Review of the current mission statement and goals. And I think everybody has a copy of those. You can read them, think about them. We can discuss them today if we want to. We can leave them as is. I have just some not minor concerns, some concerns, just mostly in the mission statement. I don't believe we should change mission statements to meet what we can do and can't do. It should be something that we're striving for, but it should be, something that is possible to do. As you see in the mission statement, manage deer and tick populations to the levels that are appropriate for human and ecological concerns. I'm not sure we could ever get tick populations to the level of human concerns or within things. So I don't know if we want to rethink that at some point. Do we want to think about it and come back and discuss it at another time? Or just leave it as? Bottom line is, I think what we need to do, and whether we say it as such or not, is that we need to keep deer and tick populations as low as possible using reasonable methods that are legal and ethical. And I don't know if we want to get to changing that at any point or just let it be for the time being. Okay, as long as we all realize that, getting the tick numbers down is, if not clearly without the four-poster, or getting deer populations down to 10 to 15 per square mile, both of which we have little chance of doing at this stage. We have to just keep striving to keep them as low as possible. All right, any other thoughts on it?
No, but
Okay.
we could maybe just hold that, give it some thought, and then.
That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so I want people to think about it
Think about
for next month. Maybe we'll relook at it next month if anybody has any ideas about it, okay?
I do agree with you that the first paragraph might want to be updated.
Well, that's our mission statement, and our mission statement is to get it down to those that, I'm not sure anybody is gonna say that any ticks are within, the norm for human, concerns and stuff like that. So we may want to just rethink that a little bit thing. I think the goals stay pretty much the same. You have a multi-pronged approach. We do not have the 4-poster, so it's no longer a 3-pronged approach. It's basically a 2-pronged approach. And for Ben and Al, over the last bunch of years, a lot of the literature has been saying really what you can do is just educate the people. Okay, you can strive as much as you want to take deer numbers down. Very, very, very difficult to get deer numbers down, that it's going to impact the ticks. I have personally not seen a lot of people complaining about deer over the last 2 years, a little bit more maybe this year, and really haven't heard much. Deer maybe numbers are slightly higher than they were last year. But people are complaining about tick numbers. There's no question about that. And that's by far the most important. The numbers of 10 to 15 per square mile are historical numbers, and that was what was considered as proper or, reasonable numbers for the environment. I'm not sure that we're not into a new normal, and that's for suburbia at least. To get numbers down to there is going to be very, very, very difficult, if not impossible.
Jim, can I ask you?
Yes, sir.
When I was here last,
Yes.
the state had done away with the feeders,
4 posters, right?
4 posters. In the subsequent tick drags, has numbers gone up or?
The numbers have gone up some, okay? And yes, they have, okay? More so with the black-legged ticks. Okay, excuse me, not the black-legged ticks, the Lone Star ticks, which may be somewhat related to 4 posters. It probably is. There's also been a spread of the Lone Star ticks. They've sort of moved north and northeast and come up a little further than they ever were. So some of it may just be natural increase in those numbers, but those numbers have definitely gone up. Black-legged ticks, not quite as much. I think at some point, and again, we may try to do it next month. It might be nice to look at all of our metrics that we have been looking at, okay? That includes, deer sightings, deer car accidents. I will do the doxycycline thing, which we do every year. Maybe Josh, you and I can look at numbers of actual cases, which we've discussed in the past. Maybe if we can get a look over the last couple of years that you've been here and see if there's any correlation. And the medical numbers, I think, are the most important, okay? We can drag all day long, we get a lot of ticks if it's important, but if we're not seeing a significant spike in tick-borne disease, we're probably doing something right. That may be the educational portion, I don't know. But we have to sort of take a look at all of those things, okay? So numbers are going up, Al. What it translates into, I'm not sure yet. One would think that if you got an increased number of ticks, you probably have an increased number of disease, but that's not absolute by any means.
Yeah, and also the tick drag information that Bo presented, I think at the last meeting, we can get that for you too.
Oh, sure, I have all of that. As a matter of fact, if you want to see it, I
That
probably have
last
it.
one was good.
I probably have it in my, in my file right here.
I just wondered if there was any correlation,
Yeah,
reachable correlation to it, that's all.
yeah. I mean, there's going to be a correlation to that, okay, when we lose the numbers. I'm quite sure it's going to go up. It makes all the sense in the world. It's going to go up to what we use as a standard where we did our drags all the way out at the end of Neshamik. At some point, it may get up to that level. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, it hasn't gone up as fast as I had thought it might. Okay, we've been 3 years out now. Life cycle for the tick is 2 years, I think. And one would have thought it would have been a little higher. The problem that I have sort of dealt with in my own head is that I've always wanted to treat this as an exact science as much as we can. database. Let's run on that, let's use that. I'm learning more and more that environmental sciences, most of them are not exact sciences. There's so many variables in there. So we dragged this year for ticks, and it's a cold winter, they may be down. If it's a winter with snow, which insulates them, may be up. If it's a wet spring, they may be up. So there's so many variables on all of this that it's very difficult to treat it as an exact science. But looking at multiple metrics like we do, we may be able to get some more information out of that. Anybody want to add anything else? Cody, what do you think?
I think it's all great.
Keep up the good work, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will come back and look at our statement our mission statement for next month, rather, excuse me. All right. Foes report, okay. I think everybody should have it. I sat with Bo 2 days ago, 2 days ago, and went over it with him. Let me see what I can do for you. Bo is in an educational meeting for himself, new computer systems or something. So I'll just go through it, okay? 286 deer reported from October 1st to March 27th. That's the entire number compared to 316 last year. That's not exact. That does not include some of the numbers out of Sylvester Manor. Bo did not quite have all of those numbers yet. So that 286 is going to go up some. I don't think significantly, but it's going to go up some. He had some of the Sylvester Manor numbers, but not all of them. So we probably took a few less deer this year. 68 taken from February 1st to March 27th. That's the NUCO program and the nuisance hunter program. So you have the NUCO program where those people have the NUCO license and they can take deer, but we also allow people that with a nuisance permit, Bo has nuisance tags, that are not NUCOs, but they can also hunt, okay? They do not get paid like the NUCOs, but they do continue to hunt. That 68 is the total number. 20, just to go down one line there, 43 of those were NUCO deer. $2,250 were awarded in 13 raffles. 12, let me just see if I got that right. Yeah, there were, I think, 12 raffles and something like 11 people actually, no, 5 people, I think, participated in the raffles and were rewarded some money. Okay. Goal was to take them from high priority areas. We would like to take 100 deer with the NUCOs. We have never done that yet, and it's getting harder and harder. Part of the reasons, and again, Bo and I have talked about this many times, these deer, they learn, they move. They get pushed out of one area into another area. They move into areas where we cannot hunt. The center of the island is notorious for having lots of deer that it's very difficult for us to get places to hunt in the center. We've also lost some of our NUCOs, 2 of them specifically. So we really ran with, I think, 2 NUCOs this year.
Just 2.
Julia and Pep, okay? And we had probably 2 nuisance hunters out there as well. So 4 hunters, as in the past, we've had 4 NUCOs out there and still several other nuisance hunters. So we're down NUCO hunters, which is part of the issue. We keep
Go
looking.
out there this year,
Bo did do some hunting, okay? I don't think he's done as much as he has in the past, or at least hasn't been quite as successful as he has in the past. I mean, it's a whole issue of, with everybody, it's, Jim Colligan always would ask about paying more money for them and everything else. We have interviewed all our nucos multiple times, and it's usually not a matter, it's never been a matter of money as far as to keep them hunting. It's just a matter of they're burnt out. You can hunt only so many days, so many nights, and, drag so many deer out of the woods until you just have had enough of it.
Then you also have to process.
Well, then you have to process them. Oh, yeah, no. It's not as easy as Julia made a mention last time. This was prior to the NUCO, though. Just for recreational hunters, she calculated 30 hours
It takes me 30 hours to take one deer.
to take one deer, per deer, in the woods. And that's not counting, then dragging it out, processing and everything else. So in long and short of it, we're short nucos. It would make a big difference if we could find some more, but it's also a matter of finding the right ones, all right? Bo will not deal with people that are gonna get us into trouble with island people, neighbors and stuff like that. So it has to be the right people. And second of all, there's a difference between hunters, okay? We've had hunters that have taken probably 100 deer in a year. We've had others that have taken 50 in a year. And that's not easy to find those guys. So that's where we're at.
So NUCOs don't need to be residents, they just need,
They do not need to be
No, they just have
residents,
to have a
okay?
license.
They have to have a NUCO license and they have to go through Bo,
yeah.
okay? And we've had other ones down. Bo has had his cousins down at years, okay, one of which had a NUCO license and the others one has nuisance hunters and stuff like that. They did not come this year, okay? We lost a bunch of properties with the whole COVID thing where more people were on the island, and so we lost a lot of some hunting properties there. And, things, price of, so just to take an example, for Bo's cousins, it was price of housing when you came down this year. It
Yeah, they
was,
stay for like a month, I think.
yeah, so there's all kinds of barriers to getting people out here. Any more questions?
Well, I'm just wondering, what's the effort to talk to property owners about allowing hunting on their land? Do you go door to door? Do you?
We do not go door to door, okay? We look for people to volunteer. We put it out there multiple years. We put it out there. We're looking for properties. We've had at one time when we first started, we had multiple people saying, hunt my property. Their properties were absolutely impossible to hunt or not appropriate to hunt. Small little properties that you were sitting inside their, on their porch actually to hunt and things like that. It's not easy to do that. You have to understand too that once you shoot a deer, even a very, very well, perfectly shot deer through both lungs, it's going to die within 100 yards, within, less than a minute. It's 100 yards away. If you have to track it through 3 other people's property, that's not comfortable for the hunter, okay? So there's not, properties, the ideal property is a big piece of property. The second ideal is multiple neighbors saying, yes, you can use it, or a piece of property that has a nice woodlot behind it and stuff like that. Yeah, so you have to look for properties that are huntable and then get permission for them.
But Ben, I can add to that. So I have gone to people, like
Right.
actually gone to their door, but I have a reputation in the community already, and I work for the DEC as a hunter educator. So when I go to homeowners, you have to present.
present
it to-
that.
Yeah, you have to explain everything you do, and I actually this year I added 3 new properties just by doing that, just by approaching someone, explaining to them how everything works. But what Jim said, it's a little complicated. It's not necessarily just that property. If you get a large parcel, that's terrific, but deer travel, even when you're harvesting them, they don't stay within the boundaries. So then you have to ask permission of the next person to walk through, and some people don't want you walking through their property. Or, you have to have Bo come help you with that.
Yeah.
So it's a little, it's tricky. It's animal behavior, and we're trying to control that, and that's difficult. they're animals, you know, so.
Right, but we're also,
Yeah.
we will also accept anybody who's got reasonable properties. So anybody who talks to
Yeah.
people, we all talk to people, okay, looking for good properties to hunt. So anybody on the town board that has, inns that want to get us some properties, we would much appreciate that.
And we did do, I don't know if you gentlemen remember, last year we did a seminar on bow hunting at the library. And one of those property owners was somebody that attended that thing, so it worked out. So somebody was informed and then they got interested in it. So
Right, the other thing is obviously at the Green Expo, we have a booth there, talking to multiple people.
we've
and-
talked to people.
So we talk to people all the time trying to do that, but we are not going and knocking on doors necessarily.
Well, like
Okay?
Jim said, if you know somebody, you can put them in touch with me, for example, or Jim.
Yeah, or even go both so that,
Yeah.
it opens it up to more than just one person, stuff like
Yeah,
that, so. It's a nice way to do it. Yeah, so on the Newco's, 43 deer were taken from 16 properties. That was 57 taken last year with 18 properties. And again, that 43, I think is slightly low because of the Sylvester Manor. I think the Newco's actually took from Sylvester Manor. I know Bo was in there. I don't know, he's not considered a Newco, but we
Do we have the
put,
same number of Newcos last year? I know we had 3 at one point. I don't.
no, we had,
Two.
I thought we
we,
had 3 and
We
then
had
1.
3, now we had 2.
I know, but, well, last year, did we have 2 or 3?
3, I think.
well, did Bo's, yeah, so it's not just the Newcos. I think we had 3 last year.
Yeah, we had.
Okay, and we had 2 this year.
So that might explain the higher
Yeah.
numbers last year? I don't know.
It-
If there was another, if it was a third person.
Yeah,
They
that
may
would,
have
that would
contributed.
obviously
Yeah,
helps,
as well.
okay?
Not the only answer, but it may be part of the
Right,
puzzle.
it's part of, all of these little things contribute,
Right.
And to try to get it up to that we're making a bigger difference than we have already, it's gonna take a couple more hunters, a couple real serious hunters that are willing to take a lot of deer is the real key to this.
Right.
As we said, we've had certain people that go out there, take 50 deer for us, which is a huge contribution. We have not had that person specifically
I mean,
for the last 2 years.
Each year can't be a stellar year. Like
Sure.
I didn't take as many as I did last year.
Right.
So I don't know, it's just how it worked out.
I mean, if I remember correctly, the culling numbers at the manor have kind of gone down
They've gone down.
over the last few years. I mean,
Right.
anecdotal, see it in the report. Is that because the deer are sort of getting smarter? It's like, oh, wow, they're hunting
Well,
us.
they do get smarter, okay? I'm not sure that's the reason at the manor, okay? And what I hear from the manor is all hearsay, okay? I don't think they hunted a lot, not this past year, but the year before, okay? They wanted to keep the trails open during COVID, okay? So there was very little hunting the year before. I think they opened it up some this year, okay?
We
but-
added 2 months, we added 2 months.
Yeah, so I don't know how long it was open for.
But they had the signs up, for example, in the trails.
Right.
That's what-
But, and again, Bo would know better on that, okay? I think he didn't get in there very much. He got in there in the end. He probably could have, if he had another person, he said he probably could have taken some more deer out of there. There's so many variables. Last year, not this past one, but the before, there were no acorns. So deer aren't in the woods as much as they're on people's properties this year. There was a lot of deer in the woods. So you saw Meshamek had a very big harvest this year, if I'm not mistaken, 100 and some,
119.
119 deer out of Meshamek. The year before that, significantly less, I believe, okay?
72, maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that may or may not have been because of no acorns in Meshamek, or less acorns in Meshamek.
It was definitely correlated to the age.
Yeah, so all of those things change every year and make a big difference on where we can hunt, where recreational people can hunt, et cetera, so even with last year, places that I hunt, no acorns, don't bring the deer where I would like to set up.
Yeah.
They're into people's backyard, they're eating rhododendrons and
Yeah, I
stuff
just
like
thought of
that.
one more thing, Scott. So when, like the same parcels that I hunted, I noticed that I just didn't get the turnout of deer during the NUCO season. Like the number of deer that actually physically came in was just, I'd say half. They'd come in larger herds and I just didn't see them coming in those numbers. It came in like 3 or 4 deer instead of like 8 or 9.
Right, and Bo talked about that too, and he
Yeah.
thinks
I think
that,
they're eating elsewhere.
well,
like
they're
you
eating
said.
us, but Bo also talks about, and again, Bo would speak better to this than I would. That you take out certain deer out of that herd and they split. You don't have that matriarch anymore bringing all her deer back in. Or
Well,
the
that's- yeah,
major,
that's the strategy, yeah.
so that's all part of what happens here, you take a deer or two out of there. And it makes a huge difference. Whereas in certain years with certain hunters and in certain spots where you were able to use high-powered rifles and stuff like that, you can take 5 or 6 deer out of a herd of 8
Yeah.
in one sitting.
That's true.
You can't typically do that with archery equipment or,
Right.
even shotgun equipment. It's not easy. So there's another variable that goes into it.
Well, I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just trying to educate.
Right.
I didn't, can you use high-powered rifles?
On Shelter Island?
Around?
No,
Yeah, I didn't think so.
no, absolutely not. We never have.
Slug.
Right, you can use shotguns, okay? You can use crossbows in the NUCO system, okay? I don't think you can use it in the, what do you call it, in the nuisance hunt? I don't think so, but I'm not
You
positive. You can, with
can.
nuisance hunters. can use
And
it,
actually,
too.
there's a new
Okay.
thing now, if a hunter in the recreational season has a disability.
That's just changed this
Yeah,
year,
that was new
okay?
this year.
But was,
That's not many people.
no, so there's, a difference. Whereas in other places, you can use high-powered rifles when people are doing NUCOs or culling, whether it's a NUCO or otherwise being culled, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, because the manor opened up November and February this year, which I don't think they've done before.
For recreational or for,
For recreational, like, I guess, bow hunting in November.
right, November is bow hunting.
Did open up for bow hunting in February, I believe.
Would be nuisance.
February is nuisance hunting. So with the bow season or conventional season, bow goes from October, November, December. Shotgun is January, and then nuisance NUCO is February and March. Okay? Okay, cold storage, just we had 132 deer, 140 last year. 34 of those were used for personal use, and 1,900 pounds of meat was donated to the public. This year, Bo did give away some whole unbutchered deer to people that requested it. That would mean that town did not pay for it to be butchered, all right? But the deer were distributed. So any questions on Bo's report that I can answer? Good. Two. Educational report. Julia.
Yes. Okay, so Scott from our committee, we met on Monday morning, this past Monday, and we went over sort of a social media campaign that we're going to be running here in early spring, as well as the ads for the Shelter Island Reporter. And what I was talking with Scott about was, we have our typical ad, which while it's factual, it's a little bit sterile. So we were both I said to Scott, I really want to get something a little bit more jazzy, a little bit more eye-catching. So we reached out to Peter Waldner,
Good.
our cartoonist from The Reporter, and he has agreed to do something humorous using one of our previous campaigns, the Ticks Got You Scared, Be Prepared thing that I made up. And he's going to make an accompanying graphic with that. And that's going to run the third week in April. We're gonna put our, also our traditional ad that we do is gonna come out next week. Scott, I sent it to Scott just to check all, factual stuff in case any name changes or whatever.
Right.
So that was all set. And then Scott gave me access to some great previously created social media campaigns that we're going to put on the town website, which you guys always know that we do something every spring. And I sent the first one to Christina, and it's actually up on our town website. So it's kind of cute. It's got ticks in a dryer with like a little bubble saying, no, I can't survive in the dryer, so it's kind of a cute little thing that was from the Suffolk County Department of Health. So we have that. We've got 5 ads that are going to run within. So it's one social media blast every week for tick education. Okay, so that was really good that we got that going. And then in terms of the school program, so I don't know if Albert and Ben know this, but the last 3 years, we started an educational program at the school, and we use the Nature Conservancy. Cindy Bell and Rebecca Crusa and I go into grades 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. And we've done, we've done all kinds of fun things, skits, acts. So I come in a tick costume. We do a lot of hands-on fun activities with the kids. Some stuff also goes home to the parents. So the week that we present in the school, the parents get things through the school email. So I spoke with Dr. Dolger and Cindy and Becca, and we're working on it again for May. So it'll be sometime in May. We usually do it in the morning, and we go in one day, and we do that with the kids. Third thing is that we are going to be doing our archery program again, and Bethany and I met a couple weeks ago to go over equipment. She got the Suffolk County grant again, which she got last year. So the class is going to be free for all the children, and we're going to run it 4 months. It'll be May, June, July, and August, because we had more interest than we had spaces.
Great.
So we're going to expand the program. It's still going to be Saturday and Sunday mornings only. So I'm meeting probably with her in the next couple of weeks. It'll be on the town rec website, and kids can start signing up. In terms of hunter mentoring, I think I had mentioned to you guys last meeting that I finally got my certification finished. It took me like 3 years through COVID, but I am now a DEC Hunter Ed certified gun safety and archery class. So the reason I wanted to do that was that I was hoping that at some point we can offer Hunter Ed and archery for hunting here, like the actual educational classes for DEC, and having one licensed teacher who already lives on Shelter Island makes it easier, because you always have to teach in teams of 2 or more. So over the summer, I taught a couple Hunter Ed classes, and we took there were 3 students from Shelter Island who went through the classes, got their hunting licenses, and actually went out in the field. So I mentored I mentored 4 hunters this year, 2 adults and 2 kids. The 3rd child hasn't gone out yet. He'll go out this fall. So that was very successful, I think, because it's a slow process of, finding someone who kind of rises to the top, shows an interest, they learn archery, then they go through the DEC training, then they have to go out with a certified hunter to guide them. It's really fulfilling. It was probably the highlight of my fall, was taking these kids out, and we had a really good time. So I'm looking forward to working with them again. And the one student is actually going to be my archery assistant again this year, Rosie Hanley. So we have that. And in terms of, I also, like I told Jim, I secured 3 new hunting properties, 2 of which were suitable for taking these new people with me. So that I actually had them sit with me on 2 of the 3 new properties. And of those 3 properties, I took 6 deer between the 3 of them. Something new, something good.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I think that is it for now. The archery class, the program in the school, then you and I will do the Green Expo again in the summer. But basically, this is the time we want to really push hard with the social media and the ads, because spring is when everyone starts getting out.
And the ticks are
We
out.
want them to be prepared now. So, Scott, did I forget anything else?
I think that's
Okay.
it. When does the social media blast start? You said this month?
So we use we're doing 1 each week. It's going to be 5 tips on tick prevention. So I pass the material, the copy and the ad over to Christina, and then she puts it on the town website. On Facebook and Instagram.
Very good. Thanks, Julie. Excellent. Next, invasive plant initiative. I actually talked about this last meeting. I had talked with Johansson and what do you call it, the 2% committee, for the land purchases. And everybody was interested. Ben, I put through with our last budget, since we had $26,000 that we were not using for the flyover, in an effort to try to get some money to start a stewardship program for the forests of Shelter Island, and that did not pass. And I think that, budget was tough last year, and I think that maybe realization that this is a very expensive program if you're going to do it. It's a long time program. You can't do it per year. You got to make a commitment that this is what we're going to do with the forests of Shelter Island. And truly, it should not be a deer and tick initiative. It's got to come from the Green Expo, the Green Committee, or somebody would be glad to participate and help with it. But it has to come from someplace else, and the town basically has to make that commitment. And it would take at least one person in the, town works department that could be utilized almost exclusively for forestry management. And what that would cost, I'm not sure what you guys pay for what somebody up at, Department of Public Works, but it would take at least that. As far as managerial expertise, I'm sure there's a couple people on the island that would help with that. But the town would have to make a commitment that where deer and tick would come in is we would be advisory as to what invasive species tend to harbor ticks. The obvious, not the obvious, but the one that's most noted around here is that Asian barberry, and there are other ones. But we would help in that situation as far as saying, this property has an excess of this stuff, can you do something with it? But clearly this is bigger than deer and tick, okay? This is actually more of, the Green Committee, the, 2% committee, property committees. So though, if they ever want to get around to doing it, if the town ever wants to fund it, we'll be glad to participate. But cannot be our initiative any longer. Okay, next is Town Board Liaison Report. Jim would always have something to say. You guys have anything to say?
Doesn't mean you have to.
You're more than welcome to, though.
Only thing I have to say is, I'm sort of glad and honored to be here, and I hope I can be of some use. And right now I'm in learning mode. I'm not a hunter, but I used to let people onto my property. I haven't. Dan Clark used to hunt behind my house. I haven't seen him around here though. But
Dan didn't hunt much. Dan's got a new baby.
yeah,
Okay, it was a year and change now. So did not do much hunting. Was one of our best Nuco hunters at one point, and again, talked about maybe coming back and do some this year. He did not. Hopefully we can recruit him to do some more. Dan's one of those hunters that could take a lot of deer for us if he has the time. But what we see with a lot of these guys is they're that age, they get married, they get babies, they're, trying to say I'm going out to hunt from, 8 o'clock till midnight. It's not as easy as it was when you were a single young man.
Welcome to my world.
Right. Welcome to all of our world, So that's the problem that we deal with. But anyhow, Julia is developing new hunters for us.
I mean, we'll continue this conversation offline, but I mean, I
Yeah.
can talk to my neighbors. We have a good 20 odd acres right there together.
Yeah. Listen, if you can get us permission to hunt that, either individually for us or for the town, go through Bo, have it opened up. I know Dan used to hunt back there. He probably will start doing it again at some point in his career. But what's nice to do is have other people and other people. So if you know anybody that has reasonable property, and sometimes it doesn't have to be a big property they own, It just has to be up against a good wood lot behind them that we can get access to. Because the deer pretty much are, you know, you never know where it's gonna go after you shoot it, but they're gonna try to stay in cover. So if you shoot it at the, you know, the back of somebody's property and there's a good wood lot, sometimes you can predict where it's gonna run. And think, that's not to say that, you know, on a marginal shot, you're not gonna track it for a half a mile. But on a good shot, you're gonna track it for 100 yards, and it'll probably, I say probably, stay within the cover, and you can probably do it fairly easily and comfortably. And some of it is comfort. I've got to tell you, I do not like tracking deer through people's property. I do not like finding a deer dead on somebody's front lawn when the kids are going out to school in the morning. So there's, you know, it's got to be, we called recreational hunters. It's got to be recreational, okay? If it is anything but that, it's not easy.
We'll continue that conversation.
Yeah, okay. Any other new business anybody wants to bring up?
I did have a couple residents reach out to me, and probably they just reached out to me because they knew me, but they were concerned about the extensive fencing that's going up on Daniel Lord LLC. I mean, I don't know this property owner, but I did know, you know.
Daniel Lord.
Daniel Lord LLC, there's this, a lot
Yes.
of fencing went up
And
and
over on Ryan's,
maybe on the
Field.
field there, yeah. And so the two residents came to me and said, you know, I'm concerned about the deer are going to be excluded from this area. They can't get in now because it is deer, it's obvious deer fencing.
right,
So where are they gonna go? They were saying, you know, that they're gonna get pushed into town and what do we do about this? And
nothing. Well, you hunt,
nothing,
you
well, you hunt them.
okay,
it's like-
people have the right to do what they do. It may be,
Well, not in the
okay,
town.
it may not be, but
Yeah.
we had originally, here's a classic example of deer learning. That first year when they opened up Ryan's Field for us, they took close to 100 deer off that property. The next year, they took very few, okay? And then, you know, before we started our new co-hunting, I remember, I forget who it was exactly, drove by one evening, counted 100 and some deer out in that field. The next year after we hunted it, it was hard to see deer out in that field during the same time, you know, same period of time. So they learn what's going to happen with this. This is not a matter to be brought to the Deer and Tick Committee, okay?
That's what I said.
Right, it really is not. I mean, people have the right to do what they want. It's legally fenced, they assume.
I kind of said the same thing though. I said, if you have a property and you know someone who, you know, they could put them in touch with Bo and they want to, you know, consider
Right.
using their property for hunting.
Right. It's going to push deer around, but, you know, maybe it'll push them in places other people can hunt. So we'll see.
As long as it's a 6-foot fence.
Oh, these were tall. This has got to be at least 10.
It's an
I think
8-foot
it's
fence, right?
8 or 10.
It's what do you call it? Most people say that 8-foot fence is deer fencing, okay? Some people say they'll jump over that too, which
10,
they can. But 8-foot fences,
Yeah. We always said 10.
right.
So that was the only thing I heard of.
Okay. Anything else? Julie Lane, do you have any questions for us?
Morning. I just actually texted Julia to ask for Bo's report because I don't have that and it would be useful. I like to check my numbers from a written page rather than.
Sorry, I didn't see that.
So.
Did you do that for her?
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
I can, I'm gonna send her my report too.
Very good. All right, Julie, anything else? Have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Thank you.